Hey guys, welcome back to Tactfully Misguided. I'm Patrick, and with me today is Busted Wingy.
Yeah, Lobo.
So for today's episode 20, we're going to be talking about the siege of
Tyre.
Thyroids. The siege of thyroids, Alexander the Great.
Aquatic Hoodrat shit.
Let's do this.
And theme.
The main theme, no Navy, no problem. Just make land. So we'll talk a little bit about the Siege of Tyre. It's kind of cool until Netflix decides to remake it and cast everybody as fucking black and trans. So, all right. The Siege of Tyre is like comparing a game of chess to a game of Fortnite. In the Siege of Tyre, the Greeks, which these are Greeks Macedonians. This is under Alexander the Great. So when we say Macedonian or Greek, it's genetically the same people. They speak the same language. As the Macedonians just didn't live in city-states similar to what the Greeks did.
Yeah. Tracking.
The Greeks had to carefully plan their attack and use a variety of tactics to breach the city walls and defeat their enemy. In modern warfare, however, the battlefield is more chaotic and unpredictable, with the high-tech weaponry and fast-paced action more akin to a video game than a strategic board game.
So for all you motherfuckers that say that Call of Duty is not like real war, it's still not.
I mean, if you crank it up to like hardcore mode and start really using flashbangs,
no HUD.
No HUD.
You're just flashbanging everybody.
And you're digging
banging
your corners.
Everybody.
Yeah, banging every dude.
Everyone on the fucking field.
Ow. Sorry, when I laugh it hurts.
I'll try to keep my wit to myself.
Alexander the Great went to Phoenicia and sieged the city of Tyre. Formerly a Carthaginian colony. It's owned by the Persians at this time that he went to go do it. And it was the last harbor in the region. It's kind of like America's Hawaii. So technically this is Lebanon, but the population is genetically Proto-Hellenic, which means before the Greeks and Macedonians, what we would know as modern Greece, you had Minoans and Mycenaeans. The Minoans and Mycenaeans, their contribution to Earth was essentially the Greeks, the Macedonians, parts of the Armenian Empire, Cretians, and Coptics that are down in Egypt. It's how we know what ancient Egyptians sounded like. The people that lived in Egypt, Armenia, looked more like people from Greece with their facial hair, with their curly hair, they have a lot of hair. Their eyes, underneath their eyes, you can look at a lot of Greeks and you can see within their cheekbones the difference between them. Unfortunately, like that area that we're talking about now was basically taken over by people from Turkic descent from the steppes. So hate to burst everybody's fucking woke bubble, but these were a bunch of fucking curly-haired white dudes fucking slaying each other. And the Persians at this point were Indo-Iranian, so they were more similar to what you would consider a white person.
I thought they were slightly brown.
They're later on when they started when different like Arab empires and the Ottoman Empire started mixing in with them, yes. But at this time, Persians, Greeks, curly, white to olive skin, curly hair, big beards. So it was just a bunch of white dudes fucking killing each other. So it was like
most wars.
Like most wars. So one possible comedic analysis to highlight is the absurdity of Alexander's ambition. Here's a young man who conquered most of the known world before he was 30, all because he wanted to prove himself to his father and achieve eternal glory. It's easy to imagine.
Cue daddy issues.
Dude, this,
I feel like I spent most of my life doing that.
Dude was smashing entire cities at the age of 27. There's motherfuckers living in their basement right now. Like all those Antifa fucking nerds.
Oh, fuck yeah.
They're like, imagine taking over the world, the known world, as Alexander the Great at under 30. I'm 35.
I'm still under 30.
He's still under 30.
I have a year left.
He has a year left to conquer Mesopotamia. It's easy to imagine a comedian rifling on the idea of a guy who's so desperate for attention that he's willing to march his army across continents just to make a name for himself. Another comedic angle is to poke fun at the idea that Alexander as a military genius. Yes, he won some impressive battles, but he also made some boneheaded mistakes, like getting his army trapped in a desert, and had some help from his advisors and soldiers. You might joke about how Alexander was really just a lucky guy who happened to have a great PR team. And that's no shit. When you look at like Alexander the Great, and you compare him to Eisenhower or George Washington, most of these guys can barely fucking turn on a stove, let alone do military games in theory. So when we look at this, we look at it through the optics of, yes, he was a very ambitious dude. He made some good decisions, bad decisions, but he had an excellent staff. His dudes around him. It's like a battalion commander in the infantry. They're fucking retarded, and they need like an OPSO and a sergeant major and a bunch of gunnies to help them out.
Oh, I hate to say that. And I know I got friends that are officers that watch this, and I have friends that are officers, period. But it's very true just across the fucking board. You have to have your boys backing you for them to like really get much done.
At this day and age, when we're talking, not this day and age, but his day and age, politics and being a soldier were kind of intertwined. Nowadays, you have politicians that don a uniform and have no fucking clue what they're doing. Honestly, you can look at the DOD right now and see that for what it is. Alexander, whereas most of these rulers were from the political class and they wound up finding themselves in military roles. Unfortunately for the Macedonians, he actually knew how to command his army and at least commanded the respect. If there's one thing that you can take from any of the texts written by the people he fought and the people that were with him or just third parties, everybody said this dude was charismatic and he was a good leader. We'll talk about, finally, there's the fact that Alexander's invasion of Persia had a huge impact on history, but not necessarily in the way he intended. He wanted to conquer Persians and unite the world under his rule, but what he really did was just spread Greek culture throughout the region and create a power vacuum that would eventually be filled by the Romans. You could riff on the idea that Alexander was basically the ancient equivalent of a guy who accidentally started a chain reaction that led to the downfall of an entire civilization. All right. So Alexander the Great is on his march. He's trying to take this city of Tyre, and Tyre, or some people call it Tyre, used to be Carthaginian. Prior to that, it was Phoenician. So basically, a bunch of proto-Greeks floating around in the Mediterranean. The Persians take it over. Alexander and the Persians don't get along. They wage a very big, bloody war. Before Alexander, we also had the Spartans that fought him. So like 300, Battle of Thermopylae. Before that, the Battle of Marathon. So Greeks and the Persians have had bad blood for a long time. So he sent some messengers to go negotiate, and the Persians gave him their answer by chopping their heads off and throwing them in the sea.
That sounds legit to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, these were messengers, so they were unarmed. So that's kind of a dick move on the Persians' part. And it really does come back to bite them in the ass. One of the things Alexander didn't really have was a navy. So if you can't make it in the water, fucking get a good walk. Get good at walking on land.
You're up, grunts.
So he decides, hey, if I'm going to take this city that's an island, I'm just going to build basically a jetty to it without any machinery. So this is Bronze Age level technology. They made a 1,000 meter, that's a kilometer long mud bridge, about 200 feet wide, and it's causeway is what they'll call it. It's a causeway. And some movable towers to attack the Persians. The Persians...
is really interesting. The movable towers part is interesting.
Well, there's
artillery.
Yeah, but it didn't work out because then...
It's a good idea.
It was a great idea until the Persians decided to do a kamikaze boat. They went Allahu Akbar and drove these, literally these boats that were filled with pitch and tar. It's like a medieval IED, a boat-borne IED just crashing into your fucking tower.
What's that smell? Why do I smell couscous? Why do I smell couscous, Camel Hump, and gasoline?
Oh, shit. So eventually, they've stalemated. Alexander does get some ass. He gets some help from other areas in his empire and people that were helping him. He amassed about an armada of about 233 ships. Bear in mind, these are like galleys that are filled with dudes, and the Romans kind of never picked up on this. It wasn't until we developed gunpowder that ships really became like their own thing.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine like the redneck Riviera, but everybody's wearing loincloths instead of beers, they have spears. That's pretty much what it looked like. Makeshift hundreds of small vessels, some were large, but for the most part, they would just kind of crash these ships into each other, and then a straight up fucking knife fight would ensue. And I'm not joking. Like, these guys mostly were armed with knives. They would try and repel each other with spears. So it was brutal. It was brutal in close fighting. So they managed to kill all the destroy the Persians' navy. But what happens when blood is in the water?
Oh, is this a rhetorical question?
Yep.
The sharks will come.
Lots of sharks.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, for cereal.
I thought it was like a metaphor.
No, sharks came, and there's a problem when human beings start slaughtering each other or other things, and it goes into the water. It will actually increase sharks to come in. They didn't know this in Brazil. There was a gigantic slaughterhouse. Brazil is like the number 2 or 3 in beef production, and all the runoff was going into the ocean. Well, they didn't get the correlation between that and the massive amount of shark attacks that were happening in the area. So all these dudes that are slicing and dicing each other, blood in the water, there's bodies everywhere, sharks are getting a nice fucking brunch on. If you fell into that water with mimosas, if you fell into that water, you were most certainly going to fucking die, getting eaten alive, if you weren't captured by your opposing team. And then, so
fuck that.
Alexander basically 100%. Created a vice around this. He cut off and sieged the city from both the sea and his little causeway that he built. Alexander kept probing. It was able to slightly breach the southern wall of this city. He basically massed his artillery. So he was picking which place I can hit on the side of this massive city. It's massive for its time. I think it had like over 20,000 inhabitants. I'll look. 30,000 inhabitants plus. So finally they were able to break into there. The Macedonians flooded the city and killed the Tyrian forces. It was a slaughter. They massacred like 600 of these dudes. Understand that they've been in a siege, so they don't have food, they don't have water, or very limited on those two things.
And we've talked about sieges before.
Yeah. Like Waco?
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 Did somebody say Waco?
Somebody said the FBI.
What?
And about 30,000 civilians were sold into slavery. The siege had taken its toll on Tyre to resist, and about 6,000 Greeks were spared who hid in the temple. So it was a multi-ethnic empire. Anybody that lived there before the Persians got there, Persians were just kind of like, as long as you like pray to our God, you're kind of cool. They even let some of the Greek gods, because the Carthaginians, the Phoenicians, they kind of all worshipped similar deities. When we look at it, it would be the equivalent of about like people hiding in a church, and you go to take that town, and you're like, all right, I'll spare everybody inside the church. It's a gesture of goodwill, so I don't anger whatever god controls the sky or sea back then. But they did wind up crucifying about 2,000 Persians on the beach. It's a beautiful sunset.
On the beach.
On the beach. Crucifixion.
At least they had something like nice to look at.
Yeah. Well, actually,
place,
if I was going to be a dick, I'd flip you around and you'd have to look at the burning city with the ocean to your back.
Oh.
But crucifixions were common practice. The Persians did it. The Greeks did it. The Romans did it. The Carthaginians. It was just a common method of execution. So long story short, the siege of Tyre was pretty cool. There's actually several sieges of Tyre, but this is the one we're talking about was with Alexander and how he created basically a giant ramp, and then eventually was able to get some sailors down here. Overall, fucking pretty interesting on how they wound up attacking the fortifications. And it just goes to show what happens when a bunch of people that care more about bullshit, like at this point the Persians, their empire's crumbling because they're doing dumb shit. They're arguing.
As empires do.
Yeah, well, they're creating an elitist rich class. They're arguing about gender. They're burning all their food sources. Their economy's crumbling. Oh no.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
Oh no.
No.
Now we talk about fun stuff, which is just talking shit.
Talking shit. I mean, you just got a spear shoved through your face by some dude in a loincloth that thinks there's like little people fighting above in Mount Olympus. Like, that's got to be a shitty way to go.
And then you find out when you get there, fuck.
Well, imagine being like a soldier in the Persian army and you've survived past the age of 40. Like, God knows how many people could actually do that, because most people died of like parasites and dysentery. All to have some fucking Gen Z motherfuckers show up and be like, yo, I'm Alexander, this is my shit now, and you guys are all gonna get crucified.
Get the fuck out, boomer.
Boomer. Okay, boomer. Yeah,
Are we boomers?
we are not boomers.
I feel like I am.
Baby boomer. We are not baby.
I know we're not.
I know I
feel
am.
like mentally wise.
I'm a millennial, technically.
Yeah, I am too.
But at least we're not Gen Z.
We just admitted that on fucking camera.
Yeah.
It
Well,
all started with us. Technically, our parents before.
I can say that without a doubt, the Gen Z population of the United States has a fucking shit go of it like we did. Like, the boomers had low interest rates, no conflicts to speak of, unless you're talking about the Gulf War.
Cold War.
Cold,
Where everybody's like grabbing their ankles underneath desks and shit because they think that's going to save them from fucking nuclear bomb.
Well, they didn't have anything crazy like Hurricane Katrina or 9/11 or fucking COVID. They didn't have any of that shit. So I don't give a fuck about people's generations per se when it comes to who is more badass than who. There are badasses in every generation. In fact, it's more important when your entire generation is a bunch of pussies, that if you are one that stands up, you set yourself apart, and it's way easier. Like, I see all these kids now trying to act tough, and when push comes to shove, like, most of them bitch out. The ones that don't, the ones that climb above those people, will have an easier time just crushing and subjugating whoever it is.
Well, yeah, because they don't have any fucking competition, especially when it comes to, like, all right, without using military as an example here, but like in interviews and shit like that for jobs, you would be fucking surprised at some of like the answers that you get from fucking people now, from kids during interviews. Like, what's one of your, what do you like to do? What's your hobby? Well, I'm really good at looking at the sky. Or no, it wasn't looking at, I'm really good at looking at trees. I'm not kidding. That was an actual answer in an interview for a fucking job. I'm not going to say who that was with, but, yeah, so that's the kind of shit you've got now when it comes to the quality of people. So if you rise above that and like have any sort of fucking sense, you look like you're smuggling shit over there.
Yeah, I'm struggling. Okay. Sorry.
But
it hurts to exist right now.
Sorry, buddy.
No, he's 100.
Get you a dum-dum?
A dum-dum. He's 100% right. You have people that have been handed shit their entire lives, which is essentially, if we look back at our history, you have the colonists that had to basically live in the forests, till the land, die before the age of 30. They had a hard life killing their food, eating it. Then you had a bunch of soft motherfuckers across the pond that had everything. Largest empire known to man at that time, the British Empire. Technically, the Russian Empire was bigger, but it's like Alaska. There's nobody up there. Yeah. So you look at that, and now I think to myself, I'm like, who's coming next? Like, honestly, like, if our generation now won't fight for us, who's going to fill that power vacuum? Alexander the Great basically did the same thing, and over time, these empires will come in, they'll take over, and then bitch boys, soy boys get in charge, it collapses and it's filled by a new vacuum. Like, we look at it right now, could China take us? Probably not. Without an EMP, could Russia take us? Absolutely not.
Even the way that alright, so definitely not afraid of fucking Russia anymore. That used to be the conversation at the shop, was like, alright, who do you think is the bigger fucking bear? China or Russia? Who would you rather be invaded by? Kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Russia's off the fucking table now. Mm-hmm. And then you look at China, and because of their one-child fucking rule, mm-hmm. if they went to any kind of major conflict, mm-hmm. they would lose an entire generation. It
would be completely unsupportable by their population.
Yep.
Because of the way they
even if they fucking declared total war, mm-hmm. and had every fucking like boy or fucking every motherfucker that lives in China jump in.
The only people that should be worried about China is if they're directly involved next to them, like Vietnam, India, the countries that are basically bordering it. Well, this week India just surpassed China for population.
That doesn't surprise me.
India is the most populous country now on Earth, and we're in good standings with them. One of the things we have to our benefit in the United States is, like, we have a very large Navy, and we are technically isolated. If you look at where we're at, there's no foreign power that can take our country from us.
Yeah.
What we can have is tens of millions of people flooding our southern border.
Yep. That's gotten to the point where they're just running through the fucking border now. They don't even give a shit.
And say we just make all the Border Patrol agents, like, we sponsor Dylan Mulvaney. He's going to sponsor the Border Patrol, and then everything will be okay. Right? It sounds about good. We'll just put some trannies down there on the border.
Yeah. See how it goes.
Fucking. And you look at our allies. You look at Canada, trash. You look at what they've been doing over there. They're fucking done. They went so far to the fascist side of the house. You look at Mexico, which is basically run by drug cartels.
Yep.
We're in a shit sandwich, and we're over fucking off in the Middle East right now. We should be taking care of our own backyard.
Well, speaking of being overseas, let's talk about Ukraine for a second. Don't we have boots on the deck over there? Isn't fucking JSOC over there?
JSOC, I don't know. There was a leak. The leak said that there were people there. It's very simple to say, yes, there's Americans over there, but you also have to look at, do we have an embassy there? We do have an embassy. Mm-hmm. Do you want a bunch of these tie-wearing fucking soy boys on their own? I'm venturing to say that we are getting everything we want from the Ukrainians. We are literally getting everything that we asked for from them, whether it's intelligence, whether it's updates, freedom of movement. We don't need to have boots on the ground. We have satellites, we have drones, we have a multitude of intelligence collection. But I will say this. Those people that are over there, almost goddamn guarantee you, they're part of the embassy. And you can go down whatever CIA rabbit hole or fucking New World Order thing you want, but at the end of the day, your embassy needs to have guards. Your embassy needs to have that security force. It needs to have the presence of power projection. So there's
all they need is Marines and Blue Sand. But then the Russians will get scared. Well, oh shit, we don't have enough bears for this.
The Department of State.
That was really stupid.
The Department of State has guys that go over there. So when you saw Nancy Pelosi and those idiots that were over there, or whoever,
did she even know where she was?
She probably did.
Thought she was in a bar somewhere.
You have to protect those people, and you have to have a presence there prior to. So a lot of the people they're saying, oh, we've got guys on the ground. No Ukrainian commander is going to let an American, let alone an American service member, anywhere near the fucking front lines. That's bad juju. You get smoked, and it's a big deal. So
that's why all the veterans and stuff that have gone over
to fight for them.
They've gone over there. They joined the Foreign Legion, and they went over there, and they were fighting with the militia. They weren't fighting with the direct fucking government.
So if you were to rephrase that and say, are Americans, I'll split it in two camps. Are Americans in Ukraine? Absolutely. Are Americans fighting in Ukraine? Absolutely not. I guarantee you that if they're there, they're in an advisory capacity in conjunction with the embassy, hands down. I also would say, like, there are enough people fighting on our side to where we're never going to have to send boots on the ground. Even if Russia did total war at this point, you know how many troops they've lost trying to take Bakhmut over the last 4 months? 4 months. 4 months. 100,000 casualties. Of that, 20,000 dead. 80,000 motherfuckers are wounded beyond being able to go back to the front lines. Let me put that in perspective. How big is the United States Marine Corps?
I think we're at 184, 85,000.
It fluctuates anywhere from the lowest was 168,000 to 195,000. So if you can imagine, if you take away 4th Marine Division and the non-operational forces like the nerds up at Quantico and all the support structure, the Russians have lost an entire Marine Corps. They've lost an entire corps. Yeah. A division is 10,000 soldiers. So these motherfuckers have 2 dead divisions. Dead, not wounded. 8 divisions of wounded. They lose battalion combat teams or brigade combat. What battalion tactical groups is what they call. They lose battalion tactical groups. Like these fucking weirdos on Twitter put their fucking pronouns in their bio and they change them every fucking day. That's the same casualty rate. You're just watching thousands of Russians die. There'll probably be a new offensive. The biggest thing that is what we're looking at is probably if Putin stays in power. If Putin is removed from power, this whole thing dies.
Oh yeah, he's lost his fucking mind.
And
100%.
The Polish military is now the strongest military in Europe. They are larger and better equipped than anybody else. They're right next door. Belarus is fucked. Belarus is going to wind up getting annexed by the Russians if this keeps going. In order to harness, it's a smaller population, but to harness that ability to attack Ukraine and solidify their BRICS. BRICS is the people that are trying to take over and remove the US dollar, essentially. So it's like China, Russia, India, Iran, Venezuela, just a bunch of fucking retards is all it is. With the way that the economy is going in the world right now, the best place on earth to be is in the United States, hands down. Europe is still connected to Asia. They're still susceptible to land invasions. The United States has the largest population of gun owners ever imagined. We have like, what is it, 3 times our population in guns alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and that's in the hands of rightful gun owners that, like what was that shooting that just recently happened?
In Nashville?
An illegal immigrant in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't buy that legally.
One of the most fucked up things is local law enforcement can't enforce immigration law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cops and sheriffs can't do that.
Well, I told you about old boy that comes in that works for ICE for Charlotte Mecklenburg area.
No.
Just Charlotte alone has they've gotten like 75,000 illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Documented, and they have so many that a lot of these motherfuckers have 5-year out court dates.
Yep. They don't
Jesus fucking Christ.
The sad part about this is
the past couple of years,
is if they commit a crime, they get extradited and they come right back. And it's happening again and again.
Well, the fucking Texas shooter, he had been deported like 8 times.
Yeah.
That's not a fucking exaggeration. Well, 8 fucking times.
Now you're just being racist. I'm going to go chug some Dylan Mulvaney up my butt.
Some fucking Anheuser-Busch. I fucking hate that shit. Let's talk about that for 1 second. Alright, so Anheuser-Busch with the whole fucking Dylan, what's his nuts? I don't even care.
Mulvaney.
Yeah, that guy. The whole thing. So I looked more into it.
Day 365 of being mentally ill. Sorry.
I looked more into it, right? And the whole thing was. So I was fully expecting to like see those cans like out. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. What it was just like we're influencers on YouTube, right? He was doing like a fucking giveaway or some shit like that, right? and Bud Light sponsored his giveaway and gave him those cans just for him, for the giveaway. So, still fucking wrong. Don't give a shit. They lost my business, and you guys have seen me drinking fucking Bud Heavies almost on every episode.
The thing that should make us fucking angry is that's not a woman.
No, it's not even that. He is a 27, 28-year-old fucking guy that identifies as a 12-year-old prepubescent fucking girl. That's fucking creepy. I don't give a fuck who you are or what you fucking stand for. That's fucking creepy.
Oh, now you're just being a bigot. Okay?
I'm a bigot, I guess. I don't give a shit.
At the point when you can no longer take it, it's too late. So this is what I'm telling.
Fucking pedophilia.
Yeah, what I'm telling everybody is if you don't stand up for yourselves, you don't stand up for what is right, and you're gonna get bullied by these imaginary people online. It's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's YouTube. That's not the real world. Walk outside, go see your neighbor. Watch the people that take your trash out. Go meet with the person at the supermarket. These freaks that are in charge of our government right now are a small minority. They're very vocal, but they're a minority, and they will sit there and they'll do this rage bullshit, and they'll shove this stuff in your face. You don't want to see two men fucking each other in the ass and pretending to be a woman? Well, now you're a bigot. And you know what? Since you're a bigot, we're going to have to brainwash your kids. I will tell you what will happen. If I had a child and you tried to do that shit, I will meet you outside in the street with a fucking gun. That's point blank. And
I've got a daughter that is turning 6 in October. Just did her registration for fucking kindergarten. Right?
Yeah.
That shit scares the fuck out of me. About them teaching critical race theory, teaching fucking having some half blue, half fucking pink haired bitch come in and be like, my pronouns are they, them.
Well,
I'm gonna read you this book about transitioning when you're 6 fucking years old.
Well, the other thing is they make these false claims that there's like this genocide against trans people. I'm sorry. The only thing I've seen over the last 3 years is people are burning down pregnancy crisis centers. Churches are getting burned. Christian schools are getting shot up. There's
the past 5 fucking aside from Texas boy,
5 shooters,
5 fucking
mass shooters
were all trans.
Yep. There's an issue with mental illness here, and if you can't call a spade, then you're the fucking problem. So at the end of the day, all you can really do is take care of yourself, your family, and your friends. Fuck anybody else. It's the fire concept. I'm around this fire with my friends. This is us. This is everywhere you can see where the fire is what we own. Yep. So when these motherfuckers come over and they try to take something from you, whether it's physically or intellectual property wise, that's when you say fuck you. The other side of the coin is if you don't do anything, you're going to be erased. The number one thing the Romans did when they took over the Greeks, they killed every military-aged male. When the Turks took over the Balkans, they killed every military-aged male. They kill all the strong men so that society doesn't have any way to fight back.
Well, you look and see what they're doing now. They're bastardizing our military. They're bastardizing law enforcement. The shit that's going on with training and how soldiers, Marines, fucking sailors, coasties, whatever.
We can't even get into the military. You've seen the medical process now?
Yeah.
That's what's screwing everybody.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was like, hey, just don't say this shit at night.
Yeah, and the problem is we have the lowest recruitment, and what they're going to say is, oh, this system doesn't work. Here's this DIE, the diversity, inclusion, and equity model that will get us to where we need. It's the same thing the Nazis did.
Now, if you want to know something, and this has been going on for a long time. This has been, or not a long time, I guess, but since maybe 2015, 2016. My boy came back from fucking recruiting duty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, because I got histed for recruiting duty, and that's why I got the fuck out. I didn't want to go on recruiting duty. He told me that when you're out there, right, you've got your fucking quotas to meet every fucking month. You got to get X amount of whoever the fuck, and you have to have like 2 to 4 contracts a month. If you got a black female reservist That was the unicorn, is what they called it. That was your goal. So I ask you, why did it have to be a black female and a reservist?
Why?
Black female reservist officer.
Yeah. Well,
Going to OCS.
You can look at all
Why?
the. You can
Why
look at all the.
Fuck does that matter?
All the people that are like, the next person I will hire is a black woman. How about the next person you hire can do the fucking job?
Yeah.
Ketanji Brown or whatever, Jackson Brown. You know what she did, right? She reduced the punishment for pedophilia. There were dudes that had thousands of illicit pictures of children, and instead of serving their life in jail, they got out in like 2 to 4 months and were paroled. They're walking around right now. Shit. The human trafficking should come with the death penalty. The same with pushing opioids.
Yeah.
Shoot your local fucking drug dealers, what should happen. But you have a bunch of these pussy motherfuckers running the bar nowadays. A lot of the lawyers nowadays. A lot of these district attorneys that are funded by special interest groups. We can talk about this shit tomorrow, next time when Jameson, or not Jameson.
So our next episode, episode 21, is going to be called, still working through the name, but I think this might be a good one, Savagely Misguided, or a Misguided Detective. So the next episode, we got two special guests coming on. Kevin, the owner and operator of Savage Tacticians Lifestyle Clothing. I'm not sure if you guys know who they are. You see me wearing their fucking shit all the time. Probably pretty well known at this point. It's a veteran-owned clothing company. Kevin did 8 years in the Marine Corps and started that shit. And then we got Jameson Hutch, who was a detective for Wilmington PD. He's not doing that now. He's not a detective anymore, was he now?
He's still a detective.
Is he?
He's just in another job.
He's in another job, but still Detective Hutch. So we're going to have him on. So we're going to have a little bit of law enforcement in this one, aside from the fact that he is now law enforcement too. So we're kind of shake it up a little bit, and we're basically going to be doing a Q&A with both of them. Really fucking excited about that. It's gonna be some good shit. So stand by for that for next episode.
And we'll see what other woke bullshit crawls out of the fucking nether sphere.
Yeah, so we can just talk more shit.
I don't get it. Like, why? Why do these people want to come after children? They're fucking evil. I'm sorry, I'm bent up about this. Also, this is my dominant hand, so I can't do shit right now. Driving
Get good at lefty.
Driving was a fucking pain in the ass.
In the tub.
Oh my god. Well, hey, I could sit on the far left when I jerk you guys off next time. Far right.
You're gonna lay over.
I'll go this way, or I mean, I could reach over. It's just difficult.
It's a stretch.
Dude, it hurts to fucking sneeze. I had hiccups earlier. I had hiccups and I could hear the clicking. It was like, yeah. All right.
Guys. With that, rant over. We'll catch you guys next time for episode 21. I'm Patrick.
I'm Lobo.
Busted Wing. You're Busted Wing for like the next 2
Busted Wing.
All right, guys. Fucking make war, not love.
You can do both.
Do it at the same time.
I'll slam my dick in my AR.